The night pressed against the windows like a held breath, heavy with rain and unfinished confessions, and in that quiet apartment where loneliness had learned my name, a single question changed everything I thought I knew about love, fear, and the fragile courage it takes to let another human being stay. Nothing dramatic crashed through the door, no music swelled, no miracles announced themselves, just the simple truth that two tired souls had reached the edge of their strength at the same time, and the world asked them to decide whether they would turn away or stay. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet power of being there when it matters most, take a moment right now to like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your support keeps stories like this alive, stories that remind us we are never as alone as we think. I had lived alone long enough to measure time by the creaks of the floorboards and the way the evening light slid across the wall like a promise it never intended to keep. The apartment was small, practical, and honest in a way that didn't try to impress anyone. One bed, one couch with a broken spring, a kitchen that smelled faintly of coffee and old mornings. I told myself this was enough. After all, I had learned the hard way that wanting more invited disappointment. Years earlier, life had taught me how quickly people could leave, how suddenly laughter could become silence, how a future could fold in on itself without warning. So I learned to keep things simple. I learned to keep my heart tidy and my expectations low. She arrived in my life the way storms do, unexpected, carrying more than just rain. We hadn't known each other long, but the connection was immediate and confusing, the kind that sneaks up on you when you're not looking. She had that look people get when they've been strong for too long, when the cracks are hidden under a practiced smile. I noticed. The way she held her shoulders as if bracing against something invisible, the way her eyes searched rooms like they were counting exits. She laughed easily, but there was a weight behind it, a sadness that felt earned. That evening, the city outside was loud and restless, but inside the apartment everything slowed down. The air felt thick with things neither of us knew how to say. She had come over because she didn't want to be alone, and I didn't ask too many questions because sometimes the kindest thing you can do is not demand explanations. We sat together, sharing quiet and warmth, pretending not to notice how late it was getting, how the rain refused to stop. When the question came, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rehearsed. It was small and honest and terrifying in its simplicity. She needed a place to feel safe for one night. And I, with my carefully controlled life and my single bed, felt fear rise up like an old reflex. Not fear of her, but fear of what it meant to let someone close again. Fear of caring. Fear of being needed. I told her the truth, because lies would have made it worse. I only had one bed. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication, carrying all the boundaries and doubts I had built over the years. In that moment, the challenge wasn't logistics, it was vulnerability. It was deciding whether I would protect myself by saying no, or risk everything by saying yes. She didn't push. She didn't plead. She simply waited, and in that waiting I saw something that broke me open. Trust. The kind that doesn't demand, that doesn't manipulate, that simply hopes. I realized then that whatever pain she was running from had taught her the same lessons life had taught me, and here we were, two people shaped by loss, standing at the edge of something fragile and real. That night, we shared the bed not as a romantic fantasy, but as a human necessity. There was an invisible line of respect between us, a shared understanding that safety mattered more than desire. The room was dark except for the glow of the city lights bleeding through the curtains. I could feel the presence of another person beside me, the steady rhythm of breathing that reminded me how long it had been since I'd slept next to someone without fear. My mind raced with memories and doubts, but slowly, something softened. The tension eased. The loneliness loosened its grip. Sleep didn't come easily. It rarely does when your heart is relearning how to trust. But somewhere between the rain tapping the window and the quiet hum of the city, I realized something had shifted. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone in my own life. Not fixed. Not healed. just accompanied. And that was enough. Morning arrived gently, like it was trying not to scare us. Sunlight filled the room, revealing the ordinariness of everything, the unmade bed, the chipped mug in the kitchen, the world continuing as it always does. She woke up with a softness I hadn't seen before, like someone who had finally rested instead of just slept. There was gratitude in her eyes, but also something else, relief. The kind that comes from knowing you made it through the night. We didn't rush into promises or pretend the future was suddenly easy. Life doesn't work that way. She still had battles to face, and I still carried my own scars. But that night became a quiet turning point. Not because anything dramatic happened, but because something human did. We chose kindness over fear. We chose presence over distance. In the days that followed, our connection deepened slowly, carefully, like something precious that needed time. We talked about our pasts without drowning in them. We laughed more. We learned each other's silences. I began to understand that love doesn't always arrive as fireworks and declarations. Sometimes it arrives as a shared bed on a hard night, as respect, as the simple decision to stay. The challenges didn't disappear. There were moments when old fears resurfaced, when misunderstandings threatened to pull us apart, when the weight of our histories felt too heavy. But each time, we remembered that night. We remembered that we had already chosen compassion once, and we could choose it again. Slowly, trust grew where doubt had lived. Hope took root in places that had been empty for years. What moved me most was how that single act of kindness rippled outward. She found her footing again. I found parts of myself I thought I'd lost. We didn't save each other in some dramatic, cinematic way. We simply showed up. And sometimes, that's the most powerful thing you can do. As time passed, the one bed no longer felt like a limitation. It became a symbol. A reminder that even when we think we have little to offer, what we have might be exactly what someone needs. Space. Safety. A night without fear. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you of a moment when kindness changed everything for you or someone you love, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your engagement helps these stories reach the people who need them most. And before you go, I have one special request. Please comment below with a single line about a time when someone showed you kindness when you least expected it. Your words might become the hope someone else is searching for tonight.